All right, let's get started. So again, I would like for everybody to put their phones away. Even you, Amir, please put your phone away. David, oh, can you remind us about the bathroom pass? That's it. You need to go to the restroom, that's fine. Just take the pass and write your name and the time that you left. Today we're doing perfect squares. Perfect squares. Okay. We're going to do factoring perfect squares. Last time we learned how to factor, and it was fast factoring. So up at the top, we're going to recall how we fast factor. And so fast factoring is when you first double check that the leading coefficient, so the number in the front, you make sure that it is a 1, and if it's a 1, then you can fast factor. And so to fast factor, you find factors of the last number, the constant. So I'm going to find factors of 15. So off to the side, factors of 15. There's not a whole lot of factors of 15. We have 1 and 15, 3 and 5, and those are the only factors I know of for 15. To set up my factors, I will have 2 parentheses, and I have x and x, because together, if they multiply, that becomes x squared. So which one of these factor pairs can put together to make me 2? 3 and 5. So I'm going to use 3 and 5. It doesn't really matter which parentheses you put it in. Will you give this to Jaden too? Thank you. To figure out the sign, the middle term is negative. So my bigger number needs to be negative. If I have -5, would I add or subtract 3 to make -2? Add. And that is how I fast factor. For the second one, same thing. I have to figure out factors of 36 first. So factors of 36, I have 1 and 36. 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, 6 and 6. And I think that's it. So which factor pair can I put together to make 5? Or 9, very good. I can use 4 and 9. Doesn't really matter which one that you put it in. To figure out my sign, I look at the middle term, it's positive, so the bigger number has to be positive. If I have 5, hold on, that's not, why'd I put 5 in there? I should have put 9. There we go. If I have 9, would I add or subtract to make 5? Subtract. There we go. You have 2 more problems that are fast factoring. These are not with a leading coefficient of 1. So the first thing that you have to do is factor out the GCF. So you're going to try question 3 and question 4. So this is what we did last class. You're going to factor out the GCF, which is the leading coefficient. I'm gonna give you guys 5 minutes. Yeah.
Why do we pick four numbers?
We're finding things that could put together in some way by adding or subtracting to make 5. So do you see how 9 and 4 can be put together in such a way to make 5? Because you could do 9 minus 4. So every time we're trying to figure out things that multiply to give you the last number, that could add or subtract to give you the middle number.
Going in faint.
All right, we're gonna move on. So the next section is a review of multiplying. So those of you that actually did the warm up on your own, you got a review. So we know how to multiply. We can use a box or we can use FOIL. It doesn't really matter, whichever method that you like the best. That's the method that I would use. So to use a box, so we got to put our phones back away. Next class, we're having a quiz, so it's a good idea to pay attention. My box is kind of crazy, but that's okay. You create a box and you put one of the factors along the top and one of them along the bottom. And we will multiply n. So x times x is x squared. X times -2 is -2x. X times +2 is +2x. And then the last little square, 2 times -2 is -4. Whenever you use a box, typically you can combine like terms diagonally. You just got to make sure they're alike. So we only have one x squared term. It's going to be by itself. We only have one constant. It will also be by itself, but we have two x terms. So we get x squared. What is 2 minus 2? 2 minus 2, 0. So we don't have any more of that because it cancels out. And we're just left with -4. So the next problem, we're going to set it up and we're going to do it the same way. I'm not going to talk through it this time. I am going to put it on the board and I'm going to let you work through it on your paper. So we are all working on the second question. Mia? So to fill in the rest of my boxes. My middle terms canceled again. So I'm left with x squared minus 1. Any questions on how to use a box? You are going to do question 7 and question 8.
Yeah, I know, it's like tomorrow. Well, mom said that I have 142 hours left, so. Yeah, no, 142. That's good. Something. So 170.
For the X term. You have none of them. You don't have any.
Hours and 30. All right, serious, oh, right. No, I know.
So take a look at questions 5 through 8. Did you notice that both the factors are the same? Just one was plus and one was minus. So they were both an X and a 2. They were both an X and a 1. They were both an X and an 8. They were both an X and a 5. So they're all the same factors, just one is plus, one is minus. Those are called special cases. And every time you multiply that middle term or that X term, it cancels. So every time when you multiply and you have the factors and they're exactly the same, and one is plus, one is minus, you end up with this pattern that it will always turn into the first thing squared minus the second thing squared. So that's what we got. It was the first thing, which is x squared, minus the second thing, it's 2. 2 times 2 is 4. So first thing minus the second thing squared. So before we flip over to the back, I have another brain break. Okay, so this is Emoji Pictionary TV shows. And again, this was student supplied, and you can do one too. Yes. Vampire Diaries. Very good. Yes, Grey's Anatomy.
Walking Dead.
Walking Dead.
Oh, I know.
You're right. Kind of like I feel like it's more of a like swamp or marsh.
That's good.
It is Outer Banks. This is one I didn't know. Yes. What does that mean? Okay, yep, All American.
I'm not a fan.
It is the 100. 100. So I've never seen this, but Bridgerton.
No, that shit was boring, so I went to. Great. Wait.
Criminal Minds. I think
I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 4 of them.
I think that's all of them. So again, you can make a brain break as well. You just have to email it to me. On to the back at the top. So when you factor, this is called a difference. Of perfect squares. Hello? Yes. All right, I will send them over. Bye. Avery, you're an ISS today. So when we factor, it's called a difference of perfect squares. So I wrote it the opposite direction because when you factor, you get parentheses. So if you notice that you have something squared minus something squared, then we have this pattern that we can write down. To be able to do this, we need to get a list of perfect squares. So perfect squares are things that you can take the square root of and it comes out even. But it's easy to find this list because what we're going to do is we're just going to multiply. We're going to start with 1. What's 1 times 1? 1. What's 2 times 2? Hello? Yep. You got anybody else? Maybe I need to check the list real quick. Oh, that's exciting. Okay. Yep, I got Jaden. Let me just look through. Let's see. Yeah, that's ridiculous. I think that's it for me. Alrighty. Bye. All right, Jaden and Avery, y'all got to go down to ISS. He's standing outside to make sure y'all get there. All right, we're going to continue on with 3. What's 3 times 3? 9. 4 times 4. 16. 5 times 5. Okay, I'm gonna keep making my list.
Is it something at order?
Yep. So do we agree that what we did to find these, we just squared, starting with 1, and we can go all the way to 12. So do we agree that 100 is the same thing as 10 squared? Yes, okay. So if we see any of these numbers, we can rewrite it as something squared. And that's what we will do, because the formula says that you have to have something squared minus something squared. So for the first one, do you agree that 9 is the same thing as 3 squared? Well, I mean, we just made a list. 9 is the same thing as 3 squared. So I'm going to rewrite that. So when I rewrite that, I get x squared minus 3 squared. So do I have something that looks like this, where I have something squared minus something squared?
Yes.
Okay, so to factor this, I still have 2 parentheses. And what you put in the parentheses, what you'll notice is that you'll have one that's plus, one that's minus. It doesn't matter which order that you put them in. One is going to be plus, one's going to be minus. The next thing that you do is you put the first thing first and the second thing second in both of them without the square. So do you notice any squares in the parentheses over here? No. If they're squared over here, your answer has no more squares. So the x is first and the 3 is second. That's it. For the second one, question 10, we need to rewrite it because it's not currently written as something squared. So how could we rewrite 4 so that it's something squared? 2 squared. Now we have something squared minus something squared. And when you have that, you can set up your factors. One's going to be plus, one's going to be minus. What you put in there is first things first. So 2 goes first in both. X goes second in both. So when you are factoring a difference of perfect squares, the x doesn't always have to be first. It's just whatever is written first. And because it's subtracting, the order matters. So you have to put the first thing first. So you guys are going to take some time. You have 4 more of these that you do, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So first thing you got to do is rewrite it and then use that little formula. So I'm giving you guys some minutes. You got 4 problems to do.
Right.
Yep.
Oh, honestly, because for this, right?
So first you have to divide by 5. First you have to divide by 3. So the first number has to be a 1. So with these, you have to factor out that GCF first.
Just start running down the, like,
Divide by 3, divide by 3, divide by 3. And so out in the front goes a 3. And then you write down, you reduce each one of these. So we got 3 divided by 3, x squared. 27 divided by 3, 9x. 42 divided by 3, that's 14. So now you're finding factors of 14.
It's more like that.
So you're not, it's not factors of 42 because you're finding factors of 14. You have to factor that number out first. So same thing over here. You've got to factor out 5, 5, 5. So then you get 5 outside and then you get step in parentheses. So you're not finding factors of 30. You're finding factors of the last number that's in parentheses.
So basically what I was doing.
So it has to go in that order. So that's 4 squared. I want you to do this step. You have to do that step first because you do the first thing first. 4 squared will be first. It has to go in that order. Looking good.
But then like that is the big problem. This day, my mom like and so like and I do something like in the and then I checked the calendar and I knew with my stepdad they wrote already home and I was almost there. And then I was like, right, I took my mom and she I'm like just back in, like get him in the shower, like so that you can come in. And so like I had to like tiptoe inside the house and he wouldn't hear me. Like it's so Brandon, as soon as I got to my room, he came out like of the room and like shut the door so that he wouldn't see like the hours like so like you know like Brandon just barely and Brandon was so less fun.
No.
I don't really like see if I'm actually at like when I'm on like or dad, my real dad's not even like that. Mom's like, oh, speak your dad.
Extra stars.
It's not fun. I don't. You know what? Since I'm having the other kids, it's
You got 5 more minutes to finish up those problems. Make sure you have written work because you have to have that extra step where you write something squared minus something squared. Hello? Okay, sure. Fine.
right now. There's no one. I'm gonna just walk in there and I'll see what he does. There's no other. Like there's no other choice to have, but it's because my stepdad's like already taught us like at the house, like. Right, he's not allowed ever anywhere. Like he doesn't even know that I have a boyfriend. Like, he doesn't know these things that I'm like really taught us like how I never did. Like he got mad at my mom. My mom knew that he was there, and I'm like, well, you know that. Like it was so embarrassing. I think he taught us because we were eating cereal. Like there was no time to like run and hide. Like already in the door, and I remember notifications weren't coming on. I didn't know. And then, like when he walked in, like, it was like live, you know, like after he was already inside, it like told me. And then we got so mad. It was like find my boyfriend. You're telling me to stop. Like I was like constantly running away. Like like I sit and leave. Like I was just kind of get my big like but I'm sitting there and just out. Like I didn't even look out the window and it's raining on the they don't it's all morning on like and then like, you know what I am? It's really calling me like see what I'm doing. Yes, I like see that.
He said, I'm here.
It's like, oh, do you have the dog? It's like, yeah, the dog. Somebody's gonna steal the dog and not even know him. Like, and he's just asking that, just like to be nosy. You know what I mean? It's like, don't listen. Bill, I can't even do anything. You're gonna like if I do go, I have to come back before he comes over. Girl, I don't ever do nothing wrong. There's no reason for your mind. This is me. I really no other choice. I'm just telling the company.
All right, we got to regroup. We're going to skip down to that last section. Question number 15. So questions 15 through 20, these are a little bit different because it's not just something squared. Like 3 is nothing squared. 75 is nothing squared. So you can't figure out what something squared is. Also, we have a typo. So go fix the typo. On question 20, instead of 576, I switched the 7 and the 6. It's supposed to be 567. On question 20, fix it because it's supposed to be 567. So number 20. So you got to fix it. So with these, we look for a GCF. So these, we have to factor out a GCF first. So when we look at the first one, is there a number that can go into 3 that can also go into 75? Is there a number that can go into 3 that can also go into 75? So you're really close, I think, but 25 can't go into 3. Three can go into 3. Can 3 also go into 75? Yes. So that is our GCF. We're going to factor out the GCF. When you factor it out, you have to write it in front. It does not disappear. And then I write down what I have left. So I would have x squared minus what's 75 divided by 3. $25. All right, is 25 a perfect square? Yep. What is it the same thing as? Yep. So this is the same thing as x squared minus 5 squared. And as soon as I can write it as something squared minus something squared, and the 3 doesn't disappear, I can set it up with the parentheses, where one of them is going to be plus and one of them is going to be minus. Doesn't really matter which one. And then I put first things first. So the x will be first in both of them. The 5 will be second in both of them. For question 16, we have to do it the same way because 2 is nothing squared. So then I check to see, is there a GCF? Is there a number that can divide into 2? They can also divide into 72. 2. So if I divide out the 2, I put it out in front. So I get x squared minus what's 72 divided by 2? That's 36. Well, 36 is the same thing as what squared? 6 squared. So I just went ahead and wrote it like that. So now when I go to write my answer, the 2 still has to stay there. 1 will be plus, 1 will be minus. Doesn't really matter which one's which. And you got to put the first thing first. So x is first for this one and 6 is last. Y'all just have a couple more and then you need to also figure out or do any of the other ones that you didn't finish. Let's see, it's almost 10 o'clock. I feel like we should finish in 15 minutes or less. When you're done, if you have any test corrections, missing work, or if you need to do one of the mystery pictures, then you can do any of those things.